The perfect lasagna always has three main components: the sauce, the cheese mixture, and the noodles. If every one of these components tastes great, your lasagna is going to taste great too. The first thing I typically do when I make lasagna is start the noodles boiling. But today, I found these oven-ready lasagna noodles at the grocery store, and I wanted to give them a try. So pray for me, because I'm making this lasagna for 300 kids who are helping me film the video. And if this lasagna does not come out good, I'm going to have some unhappy children on my hands. Before we get started on the second step, the sauce, I want to drain the excess water out of my tofu for the tofu ricotta. I like to do this now so that the tofu is ready when the sauce is made. We are going to start with 2 blocks of firm tofu. Firm tofu is the kind that we want to use when we want something crumbled or softer, like the ricotta cheese. I cut a slit in the side and drain off the excess water. Then I use my tofu towel, which is really just a large towel that I've dedicated to tofu. I wrap both blocks up tight and put it aside until I'm ready to make the tofu ricotta. Now on the second component of the perfect lasagna, the sauce. Making a homemade sauce is a lot easier than most people think. But if you're not up for that, there's no shame in buying a jar of tomato sauce. Check your labels and make sure there's no added sugar or cheese, or it doesn't have too much fat in it. When you get it home, you're going to want to taste it, because remember, each component needs to taste great. If it does not knock your socks off when you taste it, you're going to want to add some herbs like basil, oregano, and maybe a little extra garlic. My sauce starts with onions and peppers. If your family does not like onions and peppers, you do not want to leave those out. You can do one of two things. You can either put your onions and peppers in a food processor and chop them until they're super, super small, almost liquefied, and they will disappear into the sauce. Nobody will know they're there. Or you can make your sauce ahead of time and then blend it up in the blender, and you'll have a nice smooth sauce. But my family likes it chunky, so these are great for me. So I'm adding these onions and peppers to the pan with a little olive oil and some minced garlic. You can use fresh garlic if you'd like, but I don't know that it makes a big difference in a sauce like this. We're going to add just a touch of salt to help the onions soften, and it's always good to add layers of flavor at every step. We want to cook that for 5 to 8 minutes, just until the onions and peppers are soft. While that's cooking, I'm going to open 5 large cans of tomatoes. I'm going to use a mixture of petite diced tomatoes, tomato puree, or tomato sauce. I know what you're thinking. This is a lot of sauce. But anytime I go to the trouble of making a homemade sauce like this, I'm going to make enough for 2 meals. And so this recipe, half is going to go in the freezer for a later meal, and half is going to go into my lasagna. Okay, it's time to add the tomatoes, the basil, and the oregano, and we're going to add a few carrots to this sauce. The carrots are going to add a nice sweetness without having to add sugar. The tomatoes are very acidic. A lot of people will add sugar to balance out the acidity in their sauce, but we don't need to do that because our carrots add natural sugars. You want to cook that for at least a half an hour, or you can cook it for longer if you're not quite ready to build your lasagna. You could also make this ahead of time and build your lasagna later. While that is cooking, we're going to work on our third component, our cheese mixture. Let's put the tofu into a bowl and start to crumble it up. You can either crumble it with your hands, or you can use a potato masher. I like the potato masher because it gets the job done real quick and makes everything nice and small. To the tofu, we are going to add some non-dairy sour cream. I'm using Kite Hill brand, but I do love Tofutti also, if you can find it. We're also going to add granulated onion, granulated garlic, some lemon juice. We are going to add a little sugar to this recipe, but don't worry, we left the sugar out of the sauce, and it's only going to amount to about 3 grams of sugar per serving. Also, we're going to add some salt. The secret ingredient is a half a cup of vegan Parmesan cheese. It gives your lasagna a great cheesy flavor without the texture and flavor of fake cheese. Stir that all together, and then you're going to want to give it a taste. This is where you might want to adjust some seasonings to make sure it tastes great. My daughter loves this stuff. I always have a little bit left over when I make a lasagna, so you can make this into a ricotta and tomato grilled cheese with some fresh basil, or you can make it into this ricotta salad, which would make a great protein-packed lunch. Now with all the hard work done, we need to layer this into the best vegan lasagna you've ever had. Oh wait, I forgot! I promised you we would do something for those hardcore meat lovers in your family. We're going to add to this recipe some plant-based Italian sausage. It's not necessary, but if you have some meat lovers in your family, you're going to want to add it. Today we're going to use the Impossible Italian sausage, but there's also a field roast Italian sausage, whichever brand you like the best. To make this, all we're going to do is remove it from the casings and crumble it up, and we're going to brown it on all sides. That extra browning adds more flavor to your lasagna. All right, we have everything we need. Fantastic tomato sauce, delicious ricotta cheese, and plant-based Italian sausage. and our experimental noodles. This recipe will make it 9 by 13 or 2 8 by 8s, depending on the size of your family. You can eat one today and then you can put one in the freezer for a quick dinner later. Start with a sauce and then break your noodles to fit the pan. This is the first time I've ever used these oven-ready noodles before. It seems like it's going to be easier than having to boil the noodles. I hope they work or it's going to be a sad day for all of us. On top of those noodles, you're going to add some tofu ricotta cheese, some meat, a little sauce, some more noodles, more ricotta, some more meat, a little sauce, and you're going to always want to end with the sauce. I've also decided to try another experiment and sprinkle a little of this chow cheese on top to see if it melts nice. This is the second experiment of this meal. I hope you guys don't mind. Let's put our lasagna in the oven for about 45 minutes to an hour. And in the magic of television, our lasagna is done. This looks great, but our cheese did not melt, which is good to know because I probably would not use this cheese again on top if it doesn't melt because I want it to look like a real lasagna. And people will know it's vegan if they see this kind of cheese on top. Let's see how those noodles came out. So the noodles are tough. They did not cook through. I would not use these noodles again. This shortcut is not worth it. Let's see what the kids think.
Yeah, this is not cooked through.
Wow, even with the tough noodles, the kids liked it. If you're looking for some more family-friendly plant-based recipes, check out this recipe here.